What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I'm your host, Reckless Rex Ruger, along with the Alexis Arguello puppet.
And I'm your other host, Frank Benji's, back with another one.
And contrary to what you might think, we do have a guest. And he's here right now. What do you know about that? Stroke of luck. I always say we are the luckiest show ever. Ever. I would have to say that we are anyway. We'll get him in here.
I wasn't ready I didn't think he was coming in that fast.
I know, I didn't either. He's good. Breadman, you there?
You gotta just enable your microphone.
There he is. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Hey, it's good to have you back on here, man. I appreciate you doing this, man. Always good to see you, man. Catch up with you, man. First of all, man, how's everything going?
Everything's good. How you guys doing?
Good. Are we finally gonna get to see Caleb Plant smack some fire out of Jermell Charlo?
I know you guys have been hearing a lot of rumors about that fight, but
after the slap heard around the world?
As far as I know, his fight's not happening.
No.
Damn.
So, yeah. There's a lot of rumors, though. I mean, after you slap a guy in the face, you kind of expect something to go down, right?
Well, I know that Caleb wanted to fight, but I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes as far as negotiations. But I just saw somebody send me something like, "Yeah, you're fighting Jermell Charlo in July." I'm like, well, no one told me.
You really last to know, yeah.
Yeah, so the internet can say anything, but that fight's not happening anytime soon.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the internet because it seems like it was used to perfection in the mental warfare between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Did you fall for the whole ruse and think that Ryan had gone off the rails?
I did.
He always acts like that, though. So I didn't really give it any extra thought because he always acts a little bit, different. I just thought it was him being him. I picked Haney to win, for other reasons, but all of the stuff about Ryan shouldn't be fighting and he's not mentally stable to fight. I didn't buy any of that stuff. That's just that was just talk, man. I mean, you gotta be a little crazy to get in the ring anyway. So I didn't buy any of that. Like I said, he always does kind of weird stuff. He took off about a year and a half, to get himself together. So
yeah,
I didn't. That stuff didn't surprise me. What surprised me is how good he performed.
Yeah,
I didn't think he would be that good in the second half of the fight. That showed me something. I was very impressed with that because he wasn't in great shape. He was fighting in spurts and he was tired, and he was still able to have enough composure to land big shots and win rounds in the second half of the fight while he was tired. I mean, he made a bunch of technical mistakes, but he still got the job done. It was one of the biggest wins I've seen with that many technical mistakes. He was turning back. He would I don't even know if that's even called a shoulder roll, what he was doing, but
very unorthodox.
I give the guy credit because he was able to win the fight and against a world-class top guy making all of those mistakes. So I gotta give him credit for that. But the mental stuff, I don't fall into that, man. Because what happens is a lot of times in life, people shoot the arrow and then they draw the bullseye around where the arrow landed.
Yeah.
So now that he won the fight, it can be, oh yeah, I faked him out. Well, maybe he really is having some mental issues, but he can still fight. I know people, you can do both, so I never really got into that because these guys go through a lot of stuff mentally, with the critics and, things behind the scenes and self-doubt and anxiety. All of them are going through stuff. Like when I was younger, we didn't call that mental health. It's just, you're just coping with what you got to deal with, So I didn't buy into that part of it.
As a trainer, would you have come unglued if you were in the corner at the job that usually Harvey Dock does a very good job? Would you have been critical of his refereeing if you were in either of those corners?
What's funny? I just told this to somebody. if I was in Ryan Garcia's corner, I would be upset with Harvey Doc. If I was in Devin Haney's corner, I'll be happy with Harvey Doc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depends on whose corner you in. You know, you
Yeah.
always want the best for your guy. You want the advantages for your guy. It's the heat of the moment, and you're definitely trying to get every advantage you can. So that's just how I felt. If I was in Devin Haney's corner, I would have been okay with the job that he did, especially in New York, which a lot of people don't know. Like, they almost make you do a field sobriety test after you get hurt. They want you to get up and walk and almost touch your nose and do a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
That's giving the guy, that's taking the advantage away from the deserving fighter.
So when you say that Haney, so when you say you would have been happy if you were in Haney's corner, so you feel like as a trainer yourself that some of those were knockdowns, or should have been counted as knockdowns?
And I feel like he was getting extra time because he was hurt, and the long instructions and things like that, you know, gave him time to clear the cobweb. So I would have been like, I'd have been okay with it.
Yeah.
That's my guy. You don't want to get stopped. You want
all of them were knockdowns? Because I thought they all were.
I can't tell you verbatim because he went to the ground a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I can't remember each and every scenario, but there was a couple of them where it seemed like it had a residual effect where he would get hit and he would stumble a little bit and then he would grab and then he would go down. And to me, that's a knockdown. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been upset if I was in Devin's corner. You know?
Not at all. Where does Devin go from here?
You know, everybody keeps saying he's not going to be the same and he's not going to be this and that, but we got to see. I mean, I've seen the guys come back from losses before. He's 25 years old. I mean, Ryan Garcia just quit in the fight and got knocked out with a body shot last year.
Now he's at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. So I don't understand. I just think the fans and the media in boxing are just awful, man. We got the worst fans in media in all the sports. We do. I get sick of this game because of some of the things that people say. And everybody's always so prideful. Like, most of us pick Devin to win. I did. I have no problem with saying that. So now everybody wants to say bad stuff about Devin instead of just saying they got the pick wrong. Maybe you were wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously you were wrong. Doesn't mean that the kid's not a good fighter. Sometimes somebody had your number, and that's just that. But I'm hearing all of this stuff, and these are prominent media members that just can't give Ryan Garcia his props. It gotta come with a caveat. Sometimes you pick right, sometimes you pick wrong. That's why you don't talk in absolute terms.
Yeah.
That's why you don't talk like your word is the Bible. That's why you don't talk, because all it is an educated guess. It's just a prediction.
Right.
You know, but instead, you know, you got people almost abusing their platforms. Devin Haney, he can't do this. He's a bum. He's never going to be the same. Instead of just saying, hey, I got it wrong. Sometimes it's like that.
Clickbait, though. That's what they doing. They clickbaiting everybody to just my link and see what I'm talking about. But I'm curious to know what you think about how come, like, the MMA guys, like, they could have 6, 7, 10, 15 losses, like Nate Diaz or something, and they go into a big fight, and those fans still view them as a possible contender. But, like, in boxing, the minute a guy loses, like Haney or like Garcia, we put him in this echelon of like, oh, he's done, like Errol Spence. He can never fight again. It's over.
I think that the inactivity in this sport is one of the main reasons. If you got a guy fighting once a year or once every year and a half, and then he loses bad during that time, you don't have anything to reference it against until he fights again. You know, so where in other sports and in other eras, if a guy is fighting 3 times, you lose in January, you come back and you score 2 good victories in May and in September, it kind of gets washed away.
Right.
So I think the inactivity is, and I think that the boxing is promoted wrongly. I think that for the last 15 years, we've been promoting this sport on undefeated record, and nobody wants to admit it. But that's how the sport has been promoted. You know, keep your O. Nobody can beat me, and it's trickled down, and you have promoters and you have fighters all trying to preserve their records And then when they lose, they just can't cope with it.
What do you think about what do you think about Oscar going kind of like at the throat of Eddie Hearn? Sort of like, oh, this guy doesn't know shit about boxing. Like, he's trying to step into my realm and all that. What do you think about that? Because I just came across that and I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I don't have no feelings towards what the promoters say.
Like, you don't want to blackball yourself. I get that, but like,
no, it's not even that. Like, I don't even know like if some of these arguments are real.
Right.
You know, like I don't. Like sometimes it could just be for show. I don't know. They might hang out and play golf together. I don't have enough knowledge about their relationship to say if Oscar really meant those things. I didn't hear it, by the way. So I'm just going by what you said. But I don't even know because I've seen people in boxing like argue out in the public, and I've seen them same people having dinner and drinks together, and the fans and the media have no idea.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen guys whisper to other guys and like, yo, we're gonna put on the show. And then they're really cool. So I don't really know if that's if that's a real thing or not. So and that's why I don't comment on stuff that's really not my business, because they could be friends and they could be setting up a big promotion. Who knows how they really feel about each other?
Well, now you as a trainer, though, I mean, you're a pretty reserved guy, but when you see these, these trainers, and a lot of times the guys that are guilty of it the most, are unfortunately a lot of the fathers. We see it with Bill Haney. We see it sometimes with Teofimo Sr. We've seen it in the past with Danny Garcia's dad. You think sometimes like these guys are overstepping their boundaries and maybe doing a little too much talking for their fighters? I don't really see a lot of trainers who don't have a family tie really do that. Although you did have a few words with David Benavidez, so I mean, props on that. But
I had a few words with them because they had a few words with me.
They did. Yep.
I don't really say much to anybody in boxing because I kind of know the kind of person I am, so I don't play around like that.
Yeah.
So if you ever see me going into something like that, then it really is real, because I don't disrespect people. I barely even talk. I just say hello and I keep it moving. So let me try to answer you correctly. I think it's a natural tendency for a father to be very protective of their child.
No doubt.
I'm very protective of my child. My daughter ran in the pin relays yesterday, and a little girl ran in her lane, and I yelled like, "No!" and almost tripped her. My daughter pushed her out the lane, and they wound up winning the middle school championships. But 1 inch the wrong way, and it could have been a catastrophe. She could have got really hurt. So, some people may say, yeah, well, you're yelling at a middle school track meet. That's my daughter running. So it was upsetting to me to see this little girl running in her lane, knowing how fast they coming around that curve. So I think in boxing, you got to multiply that by 10. It's a combat sport, and fathers are naturally protective of their children. I feel personally, and I'm not directing this to any of the fathers that you brought up. I'm just saying overall.
Right.
I think that that if you're not getting in the ring fighting, you gotta watch what you say.
Yeah.
Because you're not the one in there fighting. It's okay to be confident, but you just have to have a certain etiquette. You got guys, and not just fathers. I've seen other coaches do it. They kind of like shocked me, and I was just like, man, you just got to just be careful. When Devin Haney was fighting Regis Prograis, they were arguing with somebody on Regis's team, talking about who went to private school and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, man, you guys are just totally
reaching for material,
and missing the focus of the fight. It doesn't matter if a guy went what kind of school he went to, all of that stuff about who's from the hood and who's from the street. That's a bunch of nonsense when you get in the boxing ring. It's a bunch of punks. Like, that can be from the hood, and there can be a tough guy who was raised with respect by his father or by his mother. Like, I just think it was just reaching. I thought it was what word am I? Asinine. And I just it's just not my style. I see some dads who talk a lot, like, and I just, that's their kid. I don't really say much. It is a little bit aggravating, if it's a fighter that I'm like that I'm rooting against.
Right. Right. I
Somebody
get that.
have a big mouth on the side. But overall, it really doesn't bother me. With the Benavidez thing, you know, his dad walked up to me and apologized. And, you know, he shake my hand every time he see me. We're cool. Like,
Yeah.
I understand how people are. It's a lot of emotions into that.
Yeah.
So most times I just kind of like laugh it off. Most times the fathers, they have anxiety, and that's the way they're getting it out.
Yeah, and it was a pretty vile lead up to the Benavidez and Caleb Plant fight too. I mean, tensions were high.
I kind of got caught in the crossfires of that because they was having problems way before I started training Caleb.
Right.
You know, so that was a personal thing that they had before I started training Caleb. But when I started training them, I'm Team Caleb Plant. That's my guy.
Right.
You know, but at the end of the day, you know, what I could tell you what I did say to them off the record. This is a business, and you guys are gonna fuck the money up. We're not training to not fight. We're training to fight. So you guys want to fight before the fight. Let's fight in the ring because that's what we're training for. He's not scared of you. He wanted to fight. So just chill out and let's get to the fight.
Right.
And David and his dad agreed with me. I'm like, you guys fight outside of the ring. There's not going to be a fight. I'm not out here in training camp to not fight. He wants to fight you.
Right.
You know, and that kind of just made them see reality. They both kind of just smiled and was like, oh, okay, coach. You know, and after that, it was all good. Like, it wasn't that deep. Sometimes you just got to just have a voice of reason in the middle of all of that chaos.
Well, what would you like to see next for Caleb, though? I mean, like, you know, if you don't think it's going to be the Jamal fight, you know, is there an inclination? Is there, you know, does it seem like it's going any particular way? I mean, obviously, the super middleweight division is, it's getting pretty deep up there.
Whatever they decide, I'm not part of his management. I'm his trainer.
Yeah.
So whatever they decide, who he fights. I don't want to like mention names and then you know, like
it doesn't come to fruition, right?
Yeah, like because that's how the rumors get started. Like I thought he was gonna fight Jamal Charlo, but then he told me that the fight's not getting made. So I'm like, okay, well they got to find you somebody else because I kind of when I first started training him, he told me he was fighting Darrell, Charlo, and Benavidez.
Right.
And he said it in that order. Obviously, it didn't happen in that order. It happened in Darrell, Benavidez. So I thought Charlo would be next, but it's been a year since he fought Benavidez, and he can't wait on Charlo forever. So he got to just move on.
Right. What about Benavidez, though, man? You know, is he making the right move in moving on? Like, you know, as you said, you know, you can't wait around for these fights forever. Is a fight with him and Canelo just not going to happen at 168?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. It seems like David's giving up. It seems like he's talking about going up to light heavyweight and fighting the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol.
I think he's at light heavyweight now for his next fight.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's on that. He's on that big card. He's co-headlining with Tank.
I think making 168 pounds, you know, he probably knows his limit. Like he made it long enough, and if he keeps pushing the envelope, one day he's gonna get in the ring and not be the same.
Right.
So I don't blame him for moving up because that's what happened, especially with big guys who like are pressure guys and they exert a lot of energy in their fight in their fighting style. They usually don't have long proms. And if you're struggling to make weight like that, you know, when you lose and you kind of crash. You know, look at Jared Hurd.
Yeah.
Look at Antonio Margarito. Fighters who fight that kind of style and they stay at the weight too long, they kind of just crash. So I don't think it's a bad idea for him to move up to 175, but let's see if he has all the same advantages because he was a big guy at 168 and he had a lot of physical advantages. So you have to see if he has those same advantages at 175. But we got to see. You know, I don't blame him, though, because I can imagine how hard it was for him to suck down the weight like that. I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah. And now, before we let you out of here, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, and fans would probably want to know, another one of your, you know, guys that you train, any updates on J-Rock?
Yeah, he fought in January in a little local show in AC, got a second round knockout. And they're talking about him possibly with the guy you know what? I don't even want to say the name, but a top guy at 154.
I respect that.
I mean,
So
just
let me just see if the fight can get made, by the fall, and hopefully he gets another opportunity. The Carlos Adames fight still leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
horrible.
Horrible. One of the worst ever.
Yeah, somebody just sent me a link of the referee trying to justify, his stoppage of that fight, and it's just such bullshit, because I would like to sit down, this is the problem with boxing, there's never a real inquiry with a commission. I would like to sit down with the commission and that referee and have him explain, if he cares so much about Julian's health, why did he let over 10 low blows go throughout the fight? The guy was hitting him. He was hitting him in his freaking thighs. He was going so low.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing it. And he got mad at me one time throughout the fight because I told him about the low blows. Julian is a fighter who doesn't like a high cup. He likes to show his abs off. So he wears a cup low. So if you're hitting him on the color part of his trunk, you're going really, really low because he naturally wears his cup about an inch and a half below his belly button.
Yeah.
So I told the referee about it's a lot to that, because I told the referee about him hitting Julian low and he didn't do anything. So eventually I told Julian, don't do it back, do it right back. Hit you low, you hit him low.
Yeah.
You can't keep complaining. We're not going to talk to the referee no more. The referee got mad at me for telling Julian that.
Yeah. What are you supposed to do?
That.
I know.
Imagine that. Imagine you not doing your job, and then you get mad at the other coach for telling his guy to hit him where he's hitting you.
Preposterous. Yeah.
So that's all I did. I said, listen.
Started with last interview. That was my first thing I said to you was that J-Rock was getting hit low all night.
Yes, all night long. So he comes. I wish they didn't even send it to me because I hate listening to stuff on the internet. But somebody sent me his interview where he's like, yeah, I'm worried about his safety, and and I don't care if he was throwing a punch back. I still thought it was like it doesn't matter if he was throwing a punch back. It does matter. How doesn't it matter if you're throwing a punch back if you're supposed to be so hurt and helpless?
Right.
It does matter. That's part of the requirements to stop a fight where a fighter is defenseless,
and especially since they stopped the fight, like it seemed like right after Adames has already blown his load and Julian was about to go on the offensive.
And the fight had. I'm so glad you said that. The fight had a certain ebb and flow. Where Adames would come on with a strong surge for about 45 seconds to a minute, then he would blow his load, and then Julian would come back. It was getting late in the fight, and that's where we wanted to fight. And it was almost like, you know what? He's not going to stop him. And we're taking the chance of this guy blowing his load and getting stopped or getting hurt the way he did against Patrick Texter. We can't have this. Because he was announced as the most avoided man in boxing.
No doubt.
As the prelude to the fight, when they were introducing him, he was, they said he was the ring announcer is the most avoided man in boxing. And I was saying to myself, who avoids a guy that got beat up by Patrick Texter?
Right.
Nobody's avoiding him.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took for me to accept this fight?
Yeah.
Literally 1 second.
Yeah.
Hey, would you guys fight Carlos Adames? Yeah, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
He ain't the boogeyman. Let's fight.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took me to convince Julian to fight him? I didn't have to convince him to fight him. I didn't have to say, hey, man, I'm honest. I had to convince Julian to go to Jarrett Hurd's hometown because he thought he was going to get robbed. He didn't want to go to Jarrett Hurd's hometown. I didn't have to say anything with the Carlos Adames fight. I accepted it without him even knowing it because I know nobody was avoiding the guy.
Right.
So sometimes that moniker, gets put out there, and then people start falling into that. But it just really it insulted me that the referee claimed that he was so concerned about Julian's health, but yet he wasn't concerned about Julian getting hit in his nuts.
Right.
40 times.
It was very, very. Actually, I'll tell you a story. Karan Davis fought out Minnesota in December. And that referee wasn't allowed to ref any of my guys' fights.
Oh.
Yeah, because I don't even like your hands are tied behind your back when a referee has a personal issue with you. But at the same time, like, you can't just be a doormat and just lay down because these people are in power to hurt you, to allow them to do things that I felt, this is just me, I felt that was unjust.
Right.
You know, like that's a good fight. It's a hard fight. It's a championship fight. I feel like that fight needs, with my guy never being down in the fight, competitive back and forth fight where it was a lot of ebb and flows. The referee said, I know each guy's history. Yeah, you do know each guy's history. You know Carlos Adames has a history of running out of gas late in fights. You do know each guy's history.
Yeah.
So he said, I wish the interviewer would have been a little bit more, would have been more inquisitive and asked him some tougher questions about the low blows and about Carlos Adames' history of, after the 5th or 6th rounds, fading, and then this one loss, looking horrible down the stretch.
Yeah.
So it was, it was one of those things, man. But hopefully we get the right to wrong against another opponent, and we'll see.
Well, keep us in the loop, Coach. We really appreciate you doing this, man. As always, it's always great catching up with you, man. We'll definitely do it again. Keep us up to speed on what's going on, man. And when we get some news, we'll get on here and promote it, man.
Well, what'd you say, Ben? I couldn't heard you. You were talking at the same time.
I said, hopefully he does what rights is wrong and he gets to fight Adames again.
Yeah.
Because that's,
you know what? Listen, man, they fought last June. Adames has not fought since then, and there has not been one word of them having a rematch. So that's out the window.
Yeah.
They're not going to fight him again. They can say whatever they want. They know what was happening in that fight.
Yeah.
Adames knows how he felt. And if he didn't feel that way, he would not have changed trainers after the fight. He knows what was happening and how he was feeling.
I agree.
If you change trainers after a win, a so-called big win, you know something wasn't right with your performance, because why would you change trainer if you felt as though the win was so special? He didn't train him because he felt as though the trainer did a great job. And I'm not blaming this trainer, but what I'm saying is he changed trainers after that performance. So if he was doing so good, why would you change trainers?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think a rematch will happen at this point. I think that would have been the right thing to do, but Julian fought on a little local card in January, and Adames hasn't fought once. So it's not like his schedule was busy.
Right. His calendar's clear. Yeah, his
his calendar was pretty clear. If he wanted to fight him again, he could have. Whatever. It's part of boxing. It's the game. It's the business of the game. You can't do too much complaining. You got to win some big fights. Got to just win these big fights, man. And hopefully Julian gets a couple more big wins before he hangs him up.
Well, we appreciate it, Brad, man. It's always great talking to you, man. And we'll definitely catch up again, man. Thanks for doing it, man. Appreciate you.
You got it. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon, my friend. One of the most touted, sought-after trainers out there, folks. That is the great Stephen Breadman Edwards, Julian J. Rock Williams, and Caleb Plant, among a couple of his noted fighters. We just heard him dispel the rumor of a possible Sweet Hands versus Jamal Charlo matchup. Doesn't seem like it's in the cards. He doesn't seem like he thinks it's going to happen. But we'll see. But it's always great catching up with Brett, man. He's a friend of the show, man. We love having him on, man. One of the most sought-after trainers. Just a great guy, man. And always love having him on, man. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell.
And shout out Gary Busey, because I can go 15 seconds with anything.
Yes, and we appreciate it again, man. Thank you so much, Stephen Breadman Edwards. And remember, if you want to be a champion, you got to roll with the champs.